Welcome to Factorio Base in a Book. My name is Nilaus and this is episode 22 of our Let's Play, and it's not an ordinary Let's Build Some Stuff episode. This is actually the presentation of the first stage of my Base in a Book, because at this point it's actually complete at the first stage. Let me just explain what I mean by first stage. The first stage of the Base in a Book is the ability, the base that is I'm presenting here. That is a base that can launch rockets and just chuck along as it wants, and it will deliver how much is it, 1.5 signs per second. So I mean, it's not much, but it's something, 90 per minute, and that will be just enough to get everything launched and ready. So the only thing we need to do here in the beginning to sort of do the culmination of this base, and then basically in this one I'll be walking through some of the decisions and the designs of this base so that you get a much clearer view, and then we'll be walking through the Base and Book blueprint, and then we'll see it. So I will now be launching this automatically. I will also be taking some of the advanced research just so we have something to use for this. Here, I have deliberately not put any modules in these. I could put a few of these in here, but it isn't really necessary. But I keep them here so that we can, wow, that's loud. It's just unreasonably loud. And we should see the game completed. That is 29, let's call it 30 hours. That makes perfect sense. A bit of work between each episode makes good sense indeed. And we have now launched it. We're done with this game now. So this base, I am extremely happy about it. So if you've been following my channel, then you probably have seen this base sort of evolve over time, and it's been sort of materializing over time into what it is today. And that's what we're going to be talking about, how this works and why it works the way it works. You will now have everything that you need. We even have like Spidertrons, all this being built here. So we have like all the advanced stuff. And this is phase 1. I'll just explain what phase 2 and phase 3 will be about, because phase 2 and phase 3, phase 2 will be upgrading this space to blue belts and to yellow inserters and a lot more modules and beacons. I will not be replacing this part here because I'm actually super happy with getting this amount in, and it will serve us pretty well, just putting it into some blue belts, and it will actually be what we need generally. Then phase 3 will be an actual megabase where we will replace the production or the smelting here with just bring it in, and then we'll from outside in the base here we'll be making some dedicated module beaconed smelting, and probably also like green circuits, red circuits, all the things that we want. We'll have sort of dedicated locations for it that will be sort of city block built. Then we will also increase the train size from the current 1.4 trains to 1.81 trains. 181, so 1 locomotive, 8 wagons, and then 1 locomotive. And I'm already working on awesome designs for that, but it's going to be late game. What I want to do in this episode is simply walk through the entire thing. So it will be more of a base tour than it will be basically a build thing. We want this one to work so that we can see that the base is working. I'm going to walk through the structure of it, and you can see that all of it has sort of evolved gradually, so you didn't have to tear things down and build it. Granted, of course, the jumpstart base we had here in the beginning, we had to take that down, but it was replaced with things that came much later in the mid game with uranium. Aside from this, we started from building a bit of copper and a bit of iron. They are down here, and these are now just gradually expanded. First, we just brought it in by belts, but we eventually transitioned so that we get them in by trains. This train system is pretty damn good, I would say. This idea here where you can see how many are being requested, they will automatically open and close, or sort of set the limit of the train stations depending on how much is being requested, so that it guarantees that all 3 of the identical stations will be getting all that they need. If I look at this here, it will produce 12 red lanes of iron, and that's actually plenty. It is plenty for what we need. The only exception is when we really start going into the blue belts. When we start going into the blue belts, then we will absolutely need more. I already have 10,000 stockpiled, but I'm probably going to need a few more stockpiled before we start transitioning. These are here, and they are going to be exactly mirrored on the other side for copper. Well, not exactly, because here it's 4 plus 4 lanes, and here it's 4 lanes of iron plus 4 lanes of steel. Generally, in if you're making science, if you're making science only, you want about 50% of your inbound iron ore to go into steel, but you want a slightly more in while building the base, because all of the infrastructure to build the base is much more heavy on iron than it is on steel, such as all of the belts, all the grounds, the gears, all of that stuff is needed in stupidly high quantities. So while you're building the base, you want a bigger ratio of iron, but when you get further in, you will actually see that this build here will be steel constrained and not iron constrained. Going to the other side, if that one is pretty simple, we'll just reserve the third one because we have 16 lanes of copper. That's plenty. You will get more heavy on the copper in the late game than iron because of low density structures and higher ratio of circuits. We also have here just this small build. It doesn't need to do much, but that's just a small build for our stone bricks. Easy peasy. Let's talk a bit about the bus and then move all the way up. This bus is, I would say, very meticulously designed. We're gonna go a bit up so that we have like the most amount of belts on the bus here at any given time. You will see some small changes from what we've done previously. Every single one is dedicated. Basically what I have is I have copper and iron on either side, 4 lanes of each, and I'm basically reserving the copper and iron on this side for the green circuit down here. Green circuits will need a lot of iron and a lot of copper. You can see here how much I'm bringing in more copper over from this side in here so that we can keep all of these going. I want 6 lanes of green circuits outbound because I need it, and later on I will need more of it. You can see here I'm using the 2 extra lanes to feed into some of the red circuits. The red circuits needs a full block. At this point this is a good build without modules, beacons or anything. It is unfortunately extremely slow and doesn't really produce much. If we look at the entire thing, it only produces 18 per second, so good luck putting that on 2 belts. But it needs to be scaled up. You can see all the room that we have made available for beacons later on, and when upgrading to yellow belts or yellow assemblers and blue belts, then things will get faster as well. These ones, they are vast because they need, actually each of them require 90 copper inbound and 60 iron inbound. However, when we start replacing some of these with yellow inserters, yellow assemblers, and putting modules in where we can, then you will see that it's actually changing quite drastically, and it becomes basically half the size to produce 2 blue belts. Pretty damn cool. So this is the most space it will ever take, and then it only gets smaller from there. So the bus here, I have reserved, if you look at the stuff that we have on the bus, yep, we have the six different products. I don't even know why. Oh yeah, I have this one up for, this one was only going up here for the robot rush build in the beginning. You will also need to expand the plastic. Plastic is not going to be enough with 2 lanes. It will need to get up to 3 or maybe even 4 lanes later on to keep up. I have a dedicated location here. This is also very deliberate. I wouldn't say that's anything that's, since I built all of this in advance or designed in advance, I knew exactly what I wanted to put where, so there hasn't been any mistakes because, well, I know what I wanted where. This is about oil refining. I love this build. This is probably my favorite build. All of these are coming from my master classes, but this is probably my favorite build because of the compactness of everything. This obviously needs to be upgraded as well, but it's working. The sulfur and sulfuric acid, do we have this? Yeah, we have a stockpile, great. And also plastic that needs to be scaled up. Right now this is producing about 2 lanes, bit more, 64. So that's 2 lanes going out here, and we will then scale it up with modules and beacons later on. This is basically intermediate. If you remember in the beginning, I left this empty and I left this empty after I built the mining, the smelting and the smelting. Then I skipped one to go into the green circuits and go into the hub, because the hub is basically the most important part of it. This is what enables me to do everything. Funny how I don't have this one. Oh, I did have that one. I just couldn't see what it was there. I have taken every single one here is now using red belts and blue assemblers. I did have, while I was building it, some of the things were upgraded. I'm going to use the upgrade panel to prove it to you. There we go. Nothing gets updated or downgraded when I hover this over. But if there was a yellow one, it would go to the blue. And if there was a blue, it would go into red. Yeah, no wonder I can't figure out the colors. So that's that also means that, yeah, they're working, but they're not going to work as fast as possible. You can also see everything is an idle situation. And this hub is pretty damn good. It'll get us all the things we want, and it will keep up with what we need. Then we can move into the next part. This is the science. This is where we started. We needed to make the red and green science, the military science, and then a bit of the solar panels together with this one. That was one. This part was what we needed to get started on the boss base, and then we just gradually transitioned or expanded with red circuits and the sulfuric acid, and then going up here to get the blue science included. And then we can just keep tacking upwards, purple and yellow, actually getting yellow first because that's for robots. We had over here temporarily the robot rush build. I like the robot rush build, and I would highly recommend building it. But in the later game, as you go on, then in this case, I really want more concrete. So I replaced it with concrete because I get all of my robots from this build, which is much more durable in terms of robot builds. This is the one thing that I would recommend getting updated to yellows as soon as possible. There are a few other things, but basically you want the blues upgraded. At this point, it is taking, I think it's almost 2 full lanes. It is, yeah, 56. So it's taking 2 full lanes in. And, well, let's be honest, at this point, you probably can't load in 4 lanes into this one yet, because you don't have enough. Maybe you can. Going upwards, this one can also be expanded. It can be doubled. These can be expanded as well. These are not particularly good, to be honest. These are also like super expensive because I use blue belts, blue chips, and they really should be moduled here. And I didn't want to do that right now, but this is one of the things that I'll actually leapfrog it instead of upgrading it to this one to yellow assemblers. Then I'll be tearing it down and making a module build that's going to be much better. But you can see things are going. We are hopefully feeding our rockets here. Yep, the rocket is ready to go, but it's not being allowed to go in because of our constraint. This constraint here comes from the fact that I have 952 still in this box, in these 2 boxes, and this one is constrained that it has to go below 200. So right now it just fills up the belt and gets into steady state. Here we have our module production. I have constrained it as 500 plus 500. What do we have? We have 300 something, 200 something. This one, basically, you always want this going, but you always also want to make sure that one does not go too far beyond the other. If you see full belts like this, then I would recommend actually getting just speed moduling this one. This is also a good candidate for making into yellow assemblers if you can support it. This will take all of your circuits, no exception. This one should always just be consuming all of your circuits so that you continue building, because as we grow the base, this part will be your constraint. The amount of modules you have will constrain what you can actually expand, because you will be stuck on doing it. So my recommendation on upgrading, if you upgrade, or when you start upgrading to the next tier, you want to upgrade the stuff that keeps this one flowing faster. So make sure that you get reds, greens, blues. Those need to be upgraded first, more so than steel, because steel is only science, and whether you have mining productivity 6, 7 or 8 doesn't really matter. But if you can't upgrade, if you don't have modules, you can't upgrade your base. Likewise, if you don't have blue belts, you can't upgrade your base. Now I want to touch on the uranium, because that's in a special location here. This is like the military and uranium processing, the military hub here. I really like it. It works really well. If you have cliffs, then you want to build this faster than I have. I built it quite late because I didn't really have any threats from fighters in this base. And also just taking my normal red ammo and turning it into green ammo. And then we have our Coverx. I've only built 2 of these Coverx builds, and the reason why I built 2 is because I wanted to show that it was tileable, hence I needed more than 1. And I didn't want to make more because I wanted to prove to you also that even with just 2 of these, you just have a stupidly high amount of these. We have a total of 4.7 thousand of these, and we're building them faster than we can consume them, so absolutely no problem at all. I've tagged one of these on the end, which is attempting desperately to try to consume all of these. When I put it up, it was at 2,000, so it will gradually start consuming this. So this will gradually start replacing, and you will see that it'll go in here, and that will go faster into the belt, into this one. Actually, now that I think of it, it might not actually work, because it will probably be taken from the closer side first. This one also very, very important candidate. maybe even the most important candidate to upgrade to yellow, because you want this to be, it is expensive in terms of the using uranium, so you want to have as much productivity gain here as possible. The uranium build, pretty simple. This one is just designed so that it can consume a full red belt, which is what I can bring in if I always bring something in, and I can't, because I can't mine it fast enough. So let's have a look at power in this base, because power is also super important. At this point, we are barely using any of the power, and that's because I have, for symmetry purposes, built all the 3 nuclear power plants. They are each producing 1120 megawatts of power, so that is a total of 3.3 gigawatts of power from this build up here. I think that's excellent. And on top of that, we also have the solar panels. The solar panels will give us... How will we know? How will we know? Well, we won't, because it's nighttime. Yeah. Well, we actually don't know, because even during the day, the solar panels will provide enough materials. We have 11,000. So let's go with... I wonder if... There. That's 564. And how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. What a beautiful number. So it's 564 times 10 times 2, because on the other side 11,280, and then a few of them are missing because of some piping, times 60 kilowatt. That's how much they deliver, divided by 1,000, and then it is 670 megawatts of power, and our current base is not even using that. So this is we could fuel the entire base here just with the solar, but I would not recommend it. You can also expand it way further. I really like this because at this stage of the base, this solar panel is enough to fuel the base. If you don't want to build nuclear, don't build nuclear. This will be enough. But as we transition further up, I think it's nice to have a combination of solar and nuclear. And yeah, there's no reason not to. The piping here is annoying for sure, and you can definitely, depending on what your base looks like, you can do it in a different way. I just wanted it to sort of mark off the end of my bus, being here we have the nuclear power plants, and that meant bringing in the water from further away, then so be it. It's all in the name of symmetry. In terms of the trains, I just want to briefly touch upon that one. We do have some other trains aside from... Nope, we don't have that, but that's something we want to build later on. We want to build a builder train, we want to build an artillery train, we want to make a fueling train, but that's much, much later. We can also eventually get here, replace this and get green circuits in. We can put a station here that makes red circuits in, and we could even put one here that puts green circuits in directly into the blue circuit production. So these are empty. Yes, you could put solar panels in here, but they are also empty for a reason, because I want to stretch it up here. You could do something else by moving the whole thing here further up, and then also having the change go out on the top side. However, that kind of is not what I'm designing here, because you can see the trains will only be allowed to come in from the south side. So if you do that, they would probably have to come in, the copper would come in and go all the way around here just to be going in here. Not really recommended, so you need to make some changes to this. This is specifically designed that all trains go in from one side, and then it sort of branches out. Raw inputs, and then processing, and then production, and happiness. That is going to be it. All the chains are the same. They are good. If we look at the blueprint, I should mention that if you are interested in this kind of blueprint, the one that has for every episode, then that is only available on my website, because this blueprint is gigantic. If you just click here, look at how long time it takes just to open the text file. That's just way too long time to that, and I can't store it anywhere meaningful. So I put this in a text file. I upload it to my website. You can see in the description. If you only want the latest one, like this one, except this is for the previous episode, I always make the new one after the episode is done recording. Then this is available in Pastebin, and you can see, if you haven't realized it by now, the locations here are other locations. They are on the bus, so we're busing in the middle, and then having all those on the sides, each of these, and they will all be updated so that they are ready and completed. This means that if you want to build the base just like this, you can stamp down all of these either in creative mode or not. Then you will need to, of course, feed it in with trains, but for that we have the train segments, the different train stations here available. Then you can build a base pretty damn quick from the get-go if you do that, and for example in creative mode. Even though if you want to make a Megabase and then you really want to build a base, then even in creative mode it takes a while to build it, because you still need to sort of lay it out and figure out where things are. The one thing that I'll leave as an exercise to the viewer, as any good math book would always say, the proof is left to the viewer, that is all the buzzing part, because I think that's a bit of temperamental thing. And basically if you can see what comes in and out, then yeah, how you wiggle your belts here like this spaghetti thing, it's up to you. It's up to you how you want to do that. But I have indicated where I have things. If I look at this one, I have indicated in this one what I have on each line of the bus, so you can see what I would project where they should be. And then we also have, of course, the nuclear reactor, we have the pavement, we have the solar panel city blocks, and the perimeter defense as well. So they are all available in the generic, also only available on my website, and the train segments as well. So that is this part. I'll be continuing with upgrades, and then we'll be super aggressive on our upgrades to blue belts and to yellow assemblers and modules and beacons everywhere as fast as we can possibly generate them here. So keep this one flowing. I'm going to wrap this one up here. I think that it's this filmed more as a base tour, of course, because I didn't want to build anything in this episode. I just wanted to showcase what we've done. Thank you very much, everyone, for following. It's been super fun to make this base, which I think is my best vanilla base to date. It is so damn structured, and I really appreciate all the feedback and the comments and the likes and all that stuff that's been coming along. But if you want to make it see that get bigger and more awesome, then we are going to continue, because this is not designed to be the end. This is designed to be the first of 3 stages. All of it is planned ahead, almost at least. And with that, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that you will be following. As long as there are Templars of the Path, I'll be continuing this series. So thank you everyone for supporting and liking and subscribing. See you next time. Until then, take care and stay effective.